Identifying themes in short stories. Today's learning goals will be define theme, tell it apart from story's topic, analyze how character choices and consequences reveal a theme, infer a theme, and state it as a complete universal idea. Support a theme statement with specific text evidence. For our pre-assessment today, we will define the word theme. What does it mean in literature? Explain the difference between topic and a theme. After reading the short passage, can you tell me what the theme is? What are the characters' actions and what do those actions suggest? Cite text evidence of where you found the theme you identified. So let's start with what is a theme? A theme is the deeper message a story reveals about life. Not what the story is about, but what it says about it. Let's say, have you ever made the wrong first impression about somebody? Can you share with us a time that you thought somebody, maybe you didn't like them at first, and then once you got to know them, you decided that they were pretty cool and relatable? Topic versus theme. So, in the topic, we got to remember that the topic is usually just a word or a short phrase. It tells us what the story is about. Examples of a topic would be friendship, courage, or first impressions. On the other hand, we have theme, which is a full sentence insight about that subject, what the story says about it. An example could be first impressions can blind us to who people really are, which goes back to what we just discussed. While we read, think about what problems does Luis face? How does Luis change? What lessons does he learn? So we're going to read the story together today. Luis and his neighbor. Luis rode his bike through his neighborhood almost every afternoon after school. As he passed Mrs. Carter's house, he always noticed that she sat quietly on her front porch. She rarely smiled or waved, so Luis assumed she didn't like kids. Because of that, he always rode by as fast as he could. One afternoon, Luis heard a loud snap. His bike chain had come off, and he had to stop right in front of Mrs. Carter's house. Feeling embarrassed, he tried to fix it himself, but the chain just wouldn't go back on. Mrs. Carter slowly walked over carrying a small toolbox. Mind if I take a look? She asked with a gentle smile. Within a few minutes, she had the chain back in place. As Luis thanked her, she explained that she used to repair bikes for her grandchildren when they were younger. I thought you didn't like little kids, Lisa admitted. Mrs. Carter laughed softly. Sometimes people seem different than they really are. It's always better to get to know someone before making up your mind. As Luis rode home, he realized he had judged Mrs. Carter without ever speaking to her. From that day on, he slowed down whenever he passed her house, waved hello after, and often stopped to chat for a few minutes. Luis learned that the first impressions are not always accurate and that kindness can come from the people you least expected. So, we're going to discuss what assumptions did Luis make. He assumed that she did not like kids. What changed his opinion? His opinion changed after she fixed his bike and told him she had grandchildren of her own. What lesson did he learn? Sometimes people seem different than they really are. And what evidence supports your answer? We can go back to the story where she tells him it's always better to try to get to know someone before making up your mind. So we're going to Complete this graphic organizer on your own or with a partner, preferably with a partner. You're going to make this chart and write the topic, the theme, and your supporting text evidence on the story we just read. So, guided practice. Luis and his neighbor gather the evidence. Luis assumed Mrs. Carter dislikes kids and speeds past her house. When his chain breaks, she stops to help and share a warm memory. Luis realizes his snap judgment about her was wrong. So, we're going to name the theme together. The first impressions and judging others would be the topic. Change. Luis moves from assumption to understanding during the story. The theme would be first impressions are often inaccurate, and kindness can come from those we least expect it from. Naming the theme. Turn your slide into a clear theme statement using a frame. This story shows that through the character's experience, the author suggests that, or a lesson about whatever the topic is going to be about is that. Keep it universal. Leave out character names and plot details and state a truth about life. On your own, I want everybody to take this handout and practice. After reading Luis and his neighbor, you're going to answer which is one of the theme stories. Using one theme of the story is cite one piece of text evidence that supports your answer using I know this because the text says, and explain how the evidence supports the theme by showing this shows that. For today's exit ticket, we're going to answer 2 questions before you leave. What is the theme of the story? And what details from the story help you identify that theme? Great job, everyone. Remember what we learned today. Topic is what the story is about. Theme is the lesson the author wants us to learn. If your answer is only one word, it's probably a topic, not a theme. Thank you.